What is happening, gangsters? Somebody left a comment on one of my videos asking about the best way to break into the industry, and I thought it kind of deserved its own video. I've got all my notes here on my iPad, and I'm going to go through these step by step. Color correction and grading can be a very lonely job if you're like a sole operator. You got to see if you really like it. I think some people get enamored with the idea of doing color correction and grading, so you really have to be comfortable working by yourself in the dark. Here's what I think you should do. Number one, get yourself a copy of Resolve. It is free from Blackmagic's site. And aside from a few limitations like number of nodes and some other specialty things that Resolve is capable of doing, it is a very, very robust free version of the software that you can use to get in there and really work with some footage and get some really good results out of it. I used the free version when I was just starting out because it was so accessible at the very beginning of my career when I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and I also didn't have any money. So get yourself a copy of Resolve and learn the basics. Learn the basics about setting up a timeline, learn the software a bit. There's so many channels that go over the interface and whatnot. Try to make sure that you're getting your information from a reputable source. Something you should know is that you're gonna suck when you first start out. It's kind of unavoidable, but you're just starting to learn a brand new skill. It's not something that you're gonna be good at immediately, right? It takes time to learn these things, and it takes time to practice them and eventually get good. Honestly, software like Resolve can be and is pretty complicated when you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand signal chain and that kind of thing. Just grab some friends' material or just shoot stuff on your phone. Anything that you can do to kind of just get started with the interface. As they say in the weightlifting world, everybody starts with an empty barbell. Lightweight, baby! Along the way, you're going to develop your taste. Like, what do you like the look of? You really need to start watching TV and commercials and movies in a little bit of a different way if you want to kind of acquire this taste. When you start studying frames and you start studying the look of things, you're going to figure out kind of what you like. And you're also going to see what people are paying colorists to do. Find something that you like the look of and ask yourself a couple of questions. One is, how does this color grade make me feel? As colorists, we use color to kind of subliminally support a mood, a feeling, or the story in general. So ask yourself, what does this grade in particular make me feel? That's a good place to start. And then study the details, like where is the black point? Where is the white point? Is this low contrast? Is this high contrast? Is it very saturated and poppy, or is it very desaturated and flat? You know, does it look like Handmaid's Tale, for example? And like, is there a reason for that? What are those reasons, do you think? Why was that grade done in that particular way? Ask yourself these questions. Build up a library of reference images. You can take screen grabs from your computer. Just find anything you like the look of and just like pause it and snap. And then you can load those screen grabs into Resolve and kind of see what's going on in the scopes or your false color, all of these tools. So they'll kind of tell you like where things are landing, like where is the skin tone? Is it higher in the IRE scale or is it lower? Why is it higher? Why is it lower? You should analyze all these frames and build yourself a library of frames that you can use for analysis and inspiration down the road. You're going to see plenty of LUTs available online. I want to stress the point though, really hammer this home. LUTs do not make you a colorist.
LUTs do not make you a colorist.
A LUT is basically very simple. It's a transform. It's kind of like pixel value in, pixel value out. So one thing you can do is kind of reverse engineer the LUT by doing it in a power grade. Just practice. Grab a still of the footage with the LUT on it, and then use that as reference, and then try and rebuild it in a power grade. Taking those LUTs and trying to rebuild them as power grades is going to do a few things for you as a colorist. One, it's going to make you a little bit more familiar with the software because you're trying to achieve a desired result. And two, it's going to make you a little bit more accustomed to getting looks that you're asked to create. Simply relying on a LUT to achieve a look or a grade can work on occasion, but I would stress that it's pretty important to really learn how to build these things yourself. As I was creating this video, I feel like I needed to clarify something. In this section, I'm not referring to any LUT that might be provided by like a camera manufacturer to get their log or their raw into 709, like the REK1S1, for example. I'm specifically referring to those LUTs that are available all over the internet that are emulations of popular films or teal and orange looks and that kind of thing. What I'm saying is there's a lot of value in reverse engineering those looks that are associated with those LUTs so that you can have much more control over your image while maintaining the essence of that LUT. I hope that clears things up. Back to the video. As you advance in your career, you're probably going to be asked to use a LUT that a DP used during the principal photography. If they can provide you that LUT, then this is very helpful because now in the suite, you're basically seeing what they saw on the day. But it's almost always better to try and recreate it in a power grade and use that LUT as inspiration for your color grade moving forward, because now you're not beholden to just what the LUT is doing. You now have more options to further manipulate the image while retaining the essence of that LUT. For example, a DP really might like the contrast that they were using during principal photography, but after time has gone by and now we're in the grading suite weeks or months later, you may have a different feeling on the contrast, and it's much easier to manipulate it in a power grade than it is to kind of like work underneath that LUT and kind of force less contrast into it on a shot by shot basis. And now your DP is really happy because they were like, oh man, I really thought I liked what I saw on the day on that monitor on that location at that time. But here in the controlled suite, now I'm having second thoughts and I don't really know if I like that contrast, or I don't like how green this whole thing was swung. Maybe the monitor on the day wasn't as accurate during photography as yours is in the color suite. Are we able to change these things? And your answer is, yeah, because I rebuilt your LUT and now we can have much more control over your whole image. So like, where do you want to start, man? Let's start cooking this thing and making it what you really want. And that is an example of how you can add value to the post-production process by being more of a collaborator, by taking the initiative and making the effort to rebuild the look that everybody has been happy with so far. Oh, and one last thing. I am absolutely not part of this real colorists don't use LUTs bullshit that you see all over the internet. I think that is the dumbest thing ever. Do not listen to that. All pros use them. To suggest that you're not a real colorist because you've used a LUT, I'm not even sure that idea came from.
You sure about that?
It's totally okay. I use them all the time. Pros use them all the time. You'll be fine. All right, so now some time has passed and you're thinking, yeah, I kind of like this shit. So what do I need to do now? Well, now you need to start taking this just a little bit more seriously, and we need to really think about bypassing that internal color management system that your computer's using. So in essence, you're gonna need to buy some shit, but you're not gonna need to buy a lot of shit. First thing you're gonna need is a monitor. You're gonna need a monitor that you can trust. I cannot stress how important it is to get yourself a good monitor that is trustworthy, because that is gonna be your North Star for everything that you do. I would recommend a Flanders. I got a DM240 here. I have used that thing for years. There are plenty of places online that are gonna make suggestions on which monitor to get. I would just recommend going with Flanders. It's what I know. It's very common. It's also used very commonly on production sets. You can load LUTs into these things. I'm not saying the others can't. I'm just saying that Flanders Scientific has the reputation it does for a very good reason. And you can get yourself a used DM240 or similar without really breaking the bank. I can tell you from experience, it is very unnerving to go to someone else's or some other company's color suite and not be familiar with any of the gear. And that includes the monitor, because who knows when the last time it was calibrated? Has it been calibrated at all? Is it new? Is it old? Is there some sort of LUT that someone installed on here that was their attempt at professional calibration when it should have been actually professionally calibrated, but it wasn't? These are things you don't want to worry about, because here's the thing. Your monitor is the sun around which every other monitor orbits. You're not really in a heap of control over what everything looks like once it leaves your color suite. So your monitor has to be as accurate as possible. And to do that, we need to buy another piece of gear that is probably equally important, but it doesn't get nearly the amount of attention that it should, because monitors are honestly way cooler. And that is a deck link or similar. We need to get that signal coming out of your computer untouched by the internal color management system, because there is nothing that's gonna f you harder than the internal color management system of a computer. That's a bit much, but also kind of true. And this is to make sure that you're looking at a pure signal of what came off the camera, so you know what the hell you're looking at. With what we mentioned earlier about your monitor being important, the deck link or similar product, what do I have here? Oh my god, I cannot believe I forgot the name of this thing. Ultra Studio 4K. For example, in this room, I have the signal coming out of my computer into an Ultra Studio 4K and then up into the Flanders DM240. That's what bypasses the color management on this computer. From there, I have that signal coming out of the Flanders via SDI to a mini recorder, also by Blackmagic, and then into this laptop behind me that's giving me the scopes directly from the Flanders, not the software. Everything is bypassed. So you're getting a pure signal at the Flanders and at the scopes.
Wow.
Moving on. Some time has passed. You probably got a little bit more of a foundational understanding about how to set up a project. You're probably color space aware. You've probably got some reps in the software and you're feeling a little bit more confident in your ability. Great. But now you've got to learn before you earn. But guess what? You got a problem. You don't have any projects. You don't have any footage to work with.
God damn it!
But there's good news. There's plenty of resources online. You may as well get some footage that's shot by professionals that you can work with, because it's going to look better than just going around and shooting stuff on your phone and playing around. You can do that too, but get stuff that's shot well and spend a lot of time doing this. This is going to be the time you spend getting a lot of the early mistakes out of your system. Once you've gotten yourself a decent amount of practice, it's time to go get some clients. Nobody is going to pay you to color yet. You have an unproven record. You're just getting going. That's totally understandable. You shouldn't really expect to get paid for your first projects. This is the time to go out and offer your services for free, because you don't have a reputation and you really need to build one. And this is how you're going to do it. Go offer to grade music videos free of charge in exchange for you to be able to use that music video on your website or your Instagram or whatever. Music videos are a great option to start with because they're often way more creative than the commercial stuff that you're going to be asked to do as soon as you kind of move along in your career. And because no one's paying you, you can kind of go nuts. You can grade that thing like 3-4 times just to see if they're like kind of digging what you're doing. And if they are, great. Number one, you just got yourself a happy client that's hopefully going to come back to you in the future for paid work once you're a little bit more established. And number two, you just got some killer looking shit for your site.
Yes! That's awesome!
Grade a bunch of these for free. The idea is to build up a portfolio and get yourself a reputation as somebody who's reliable, creative, and is a really good collaborator on these projects. Now that you have a bunch of these done and you've got a solid beginner's portfolio, congratulations, you are now a colorist for hire. Now you've got to get yourself some clients. And hopefully you have a history of working with creatives who are doing music videos or other videos that you can now start charging for your services because now you have a reputation with them. Or you can go get in touch with production companies and say, hey, I'm a colorist. I love what you guys are doing. I'd love the opportunity to collaborate with you someday, should you have a project that needs some color work. Another thing you can try is go to some of these production-focused events that may or may not be happening in your city. In Philadelphia, there's a bunch of them. They're great opportunities to meet people in other positions in production. For example, in Philadelphia, there's one called Grips Night Out. And that's a great stepping stone into getting out there and meeting people because the Grips work with everybody. They work all the time. They know everybody.
What do you mean everyone? Everyone!
And they're a great group of people to go out and introduce yourself and offer your services. One thing not to worry about is the gear. I would not recommend overextending yourself financially to get gear to look impressive. Nobody is really going to come to your color suite for a supervised session when you're earlier on in your career. That'll come later, if at all. Some people never do it. Some people do it strictly over the internet. I have the ability to do it here. I can count on, all right, maybe 2 hands of the number of clients that I have had in here doing live sessions with me. It's great. I enjoy the space, but it's not necessarily required for me to do my job. The gear will come. You'll build out your suite over time. We all do it. For now, the most important thing is gaining a roster of clients that are happy and that are coming back. That's going to help you build your reputation. And your reputation in this business is basically everything. Build out your suite with the money that you make from doing color. Be sure that the work you're doing is enabling you to afford the gear, not the other way around. I've been doing this for well over a decade and I still don't have the advanced panels. Honestly, they would look dope in here, but they're super expensive. I just cannot justify the cost. If they were like half price or something, maybe I'd consider it, but $31,000 for panels is a bit steep.
That's a lot of money.
And lastly, I want to touch on this. You need to practice. Anybody who is good at anything professionally spends a lot of time practicing. You can't not practice and expect to maintain or advance your skill set. The good news for you is by now, you've got a whole host of new footage to work on. So you can take previous projects that you've delivered and then you can go in and regrade them completely.
Old and busted, new hotness.
Give each project that you've worked on 5 unique looks. Just pretend that that's the creative direction that you've been given and execute it. There is nothing stopping you from practicing on footage that you've been paid to work on. Nothing at all. If anything, it's going to make you better. Practice is for making mistakes. This is the time to do all the dumb shit. Go ahead and use 20 nodes and pull 3 keys and use 17 power windows on one shot that takes you 45 minutes to grade. Do it now in the practice sessions because there is not a client on planet Earth that's going to pay you for that time. Unless it's like a super long oneer and you have to get in there and like do a hell of a lot of relighting and that kind of stuff. That has been known to happen. You will most likely have pushed footage further than you probably ever should, and you'll realize where stuff starts to break. That's a valuable thing. But the more valuable thing is that you did it on a non-paying job, off hours, so to speak. Remember, if you do that super complicated shit on a paying job, you are trading good hours for bad dollars. Basically what happens is you're going to spend 7 times as long grading something, your client's not going to be happy, you're going to drive your hourly rate or your project rate into the ground, or even worse, you'll have spent so much time on the job that you'll have lost money. And no one wins in that situation. Make sure to always try the complicated stuff off hours. Do that in your practice sessions, because by doing it then, you're not pissing anybody off, you're not losing money, but you're also going to learn how to do it more time efficiently. Key takeaway here, as a colorist, you're paid for speed and quality, usually in that order. You will get good with practice. You'll also get fast with practice. In conclusion, those are the steps that I would take if I were a brand new colorist trying to break into the industry. Hope you got something out of this. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.